Here with the Somerset Patriots, Steven Cusumano joined alongside Yankees 2021 second-round pick Brendan Beck. And Brendan, it's been great to have you here in Somerset, and we really appreciate the time.
Yeah, no problem. Excited to be here.
You've got to be excited to just be back on the field, right? You came into this year with 3 years under your belt, but only had pitched 10 games. And what does it feel like just to be part of a team again?
Really good, really good. And that's the biggest thing is, the team atmosphere that you don't get when you're rehabbing. You're still around baseball a bit, but being in the locker room, the bus rides with the guys, just being in the dugout, all the things that go into the game is really what you miss the most. So it's been really fun.
Now take us back to the time you're drafted, 2021. Obviously, you're ramping up to get ready to go for your professional debut and then have to undergo the surgery and the whole process to getting back in 2023.
Yeah, it was long. Definitely not what I thought going into it. I'd say never really got rolling with that rehab. Kind of just felt like we were always behind the eight ball, waiting for things to turn around, and at some point we just kind of looked up and realized it probably wasn't going to. There wasn't really anything specific that made it go off the rails or whatever. Sometimes that just happens. And in 2023, was pitching for a little bit and just figured at the time it wasn't really sustainable. And so we made the decision to just kind of take another step back, reassess, get some more information, and then ended up getting another procedure and missing last year. But I think that was the right decision and has helped me get back to where I want to be now.
What were you feeling that year, 2023?
It was just a grind every day. My elbow just never really got over the hump, I would say, from the rehab. And it was just a grind where every day and every outing just made it feel like it was going to be more of a grind to get to the next one. And when you're rehabbing for that long, that's not really what you want the end result to be. And when you're in at these, some of the lower levels are still just making your way up. When you look up and see the long road that it takes to still get to where you want to be, we decided, it just would make the most sense to go in there and clean things up and really make it so I could look ahead with some more clarity.
And it's obviously a lot of rehab to go through. Who are some of the guys maybe you ran into and picked some things up from down there and you got to know really well?
Yeah, luckily being down at the complex during the season, every level of guys who go down are rehabbing in the same spot. So we had a lot of big leaguers down there, a lot of higher level guys. Scott Efros was a really big resource, good friend. Lou Trevino was down there quite a bit. Frankie Montas was there. And really just getting to, learn those guys' personality and hear their different stories and different paths to the field and making it to the big leagues. You really realize, no path is the same. And you're hearing all these crazy, roadblocks or obstacles or even just like sometimes pure luck of what it takes to just get to the big leagues, and you realize, all right, like if I can just get back to the field, there's no reason that can't happen for me too.
And now mentally, how do you feel that going through all of that months and years of rehab kind of shaped the person and the player you are today?
Yeah, I think player on the field, I'm probably the same. Obviously now a few years older, hopefully a few years wiser. Just being able to learn some of the things, learn more about myself, make the most out of situations, things like that. And so I would say, on the field, it's probably still the same me, but obviously always developing, always wanting to get better.
In what ways have you evolved as a pitcher since that point? Obviously, it's, like you said, very similar pitch package. You're learning how to pitch still here in Double-A. How differently do you feel you are right now as a pitcher?
Not too different, honestly, and that's probably something that excites me a lot. I thought, when I got drafted, I was very comfortable with who I was as a pitcher. I felt like I, wasn't making things bigger than they needed to be about myself. I feel like I understood myself and my repertoire really well. And I think that's something like getting back out here this year, I've definitely felt comfortable being on the mound and just being myself on the mound, which has been nice. And
one of your best qualities has always been your ability to command the strike zone. Has it always been that way, or is there something that kind of got you over the edge to make that a real strength of yours?
No, I mean, kind of, my freshman year at Stanford when I really started pitching more full-time, in the inner squads, you always just want to keep things moving. The thing no one wants to see in an inner squad is a walkathon. So, being kind of an infielder and being able to throw the ball to first, kind of from any arm slot, whatever, made it easier to just get on the bump and throw a lot of strikes. And from there, really, that's just kind of how I've tried to go at hitters, just dominate the strike zone and try to put pressure on them to make them uncomfortable.
You said kind of casually there, you were an infielder at the time you committed to Stanford. Did you have any idea or any inkling that you might want to try pitching full-time and that you'd be this good at it?
Not going into school, showing up and looking at the infield that we had and guys that were on the field. Nico Horner was our starting shortstop. Obviously, wasn't going to beat him out being an MLB Gold Glover. But we had all conference guys all over the field and showing up and not wanting to just sit around and wait for my time to come and seeing that there was a chance to pitch. And if pitching didn't go well, I was never supposed to do that anyway. But just getting on the mound and then just getting a little bit better every year. I had a lot of good resources. Learned a lot from the guys that were there. My pitching coach and I had a really good relationship, and just not forcing it too much, not trying to become a really good pitcher overnight and just kind of taking it one start at a time, I think has really been a good key for me.
Well, one of the guys you met up with when you got to Stanford as a freshman was your older brother, Tristan, who's pitching for the Giants right now. What was that just generally like, pitching alongside your brother on the same team and for a really successful Stanford team, too?
Yeah, it was awesome. Our dreams, both as kids growing up, was just to go to Stanford. And we never really focused too much on playing baseball there. Obviously, we played baseball growing up, so that was always the goal. But once we got older and realized, we had a chance to maybe be on the same team, Tristan overturned the draft a few times, and it just worked out in 2018 that we were there together. And I think that having him right there with me as I really started my true pitching career was just something that I think really set the foundation for me to be a really good pitcher. I talked with him every day, every outing, pretty much every pitch, coming in off the field every inning. He's there, sometimes giving me the advice I want to hear, sometimes the advice I don't want to hear. But having him there was really just a difference maker for me.
So what about now, as far as you're in Double-A, he's in the big leagues for the Giants? How often are you guys talking? What are you talking about?
I mean, we're talking every day. Obviously, we're really close as siblings, so kind of hitting everything under the sun, things that pop up. But baseball-wise, we also kind of chop it up every day. He's transitioned now to being a reliever, which has been a little different for him, but I think he's settled into that role really well. So even just things when I had to come out of the pen, kind of 2 outings backing up JT a few weeks ago, just running stuff by him, like routine, when to start, what to do in between innings, those kind of things. And he pitched in this league as well a few years ago for the Flying Squirrels. So just kind of chopping up, stadiums and crowds and all the little things. Pitching is so meticulous. It's nice to have a sounding board in Tristan, and I know he bounces some stuff off me. And when things go well, it's nice to celebrate. When things don't go as well, it's nice to have someone telling you, hey, it's really not that bad as it seems. So we talk all the time.
And you said the two of you really wanted to go to Stanford. Why is that?
My older sister Megan went there. She's 10 years older than me, and so really when she moved in her freshman year was about the time I was able to start comprehending really what college was, and we went and helped move her in. And Stanford's campus is just beautiful. As soon as you step on the campus, you kind of fall in love and realize just how amazing it is. My mom also went there. She was class of '84. So really just kind of a Stanford family. We grew up, in a really good era of Stanford football. So a lot of big games, a lot of Rose Bowl appearances. So really all that stuff growing up in Southern California, so close to the campus as well. It really was just our family school.
And the athletics are great at Stanford, but obviously that's a school where there's so much more to it in the academic side of things. What was it like? How rigorous was it going to Stanford?
Yeah. I mean, you have some of the world difference makers on campus, not even talking about athletics. There's people who are really just making a huge impact all over the world. And so that's really, I think, the most special thing about Stanford. Whether you're an athlete, whether you're not, everyone around you is so driven and has a goal and wants to make an impact in their specific field that it really just kind of lifts the floor of everyone. Everyone's always striving for something. And, in terms of the academic rigor, it was definitely tough. But I think one of the hardest things is just getting there. And then once you're there, everyone kind of forges their own path. And Stanford's really accommodating and helping people find what they want to do the most.
And obviously the goal is to pitch for as long as humanly possible. But eventually, whether you're 40, 50, however old you are, you're going to have to move on to something else. How do you feel that experience at Stanford maybe set you up for life past baseball?
Yeah, really well. At Stanford, it's such a melting pot of cultures, people, ideas, community. I think it really sets you up to really go out and be able to do anything, anywhere, with anyone. I think a lot of Stanford people can be dropped into kind of any situation and really make the most of it and really thrive and build a community. And I think that's definitely one of the most special things about Stanford.
Looking ahead to now, your career right now, you're healthy for the first time consistently in your entire career. What is it like just kind of picking out certain goals? And now that you know that you are the pitcher that you were pre-injury sort of, and what are the goals through the end of this year?
I mean, number one, the goal is still just health. Finding the routine that works for me. I think that's something throughout the long rehab process. You try a lot of, rehabilitation things, even just the day-to-day of, walking around, getting a sweat, the different, recovery modes that we have. So that's been really the biggest thing so far. So health is definitely the biggest. But obviously, no one really dreams of, just making it to the minor leagues. Everyone wants to be the big leaguer. So having that goal in the back of the mind of debuting and just driving and taking steps to becoming a big league pitcher is still the driving force, I'd say.
And as a starting pitcher, obviously routine is so important to you. What was it like having a preseason spring training sort of routine for the first time in your career as a fully healthy pitcher?
Yeah, I mean, most of all, it was just fun to be a part of spring training for the first time. I've been at the complex rehabbing and not been a part of it, kind of off to the side. I've been completely away from the complex during spring training. So really just having everyone in the org there, it's a really fun time, beautiful weather down in Tampa. the big league guys show up early, and they're in there with us too every day, and really just getting to see what they do and how they go about things, preparing for a long season. Baseball just being so long, everyone kind of has their own different cue of how to get ready. So really just seeing that is a lot of fun, and also just, getting to face your buddies in spring training on the backfields, no consequences, is also a good time.
Who are some of the big league guys you've had good, meaningful conversations with?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned Scott Efros on the rehab side. Austin Wells, is great. He was down there a couple years ago, and great to see him kind of take off as soon as he got back healthy. Blew up here real quick and then made his debut and hasn't really looked back. And so I think, those are two guys. Scott's been through, some things and been through a different org and has had to change his repertoire a bit. And then Austin's just, everyone loves Austin, so it's great to have him around.
And on that note, I have to ask about Rafael Flores, who's usually your battery mate too.
Yeah.
What is he like to work with, and what makes him special as a catcher?
Raf just will outwork anyone in terms of on-field preparation, in terms of, hitting, defense, throwing, preparation. I think Raf's, big calling card is that he really knows the hitters that we're facing. It's easy for me as a pitcher to just get on the mound and get rolling with Raf right away. You can tell when he puts a sign down, he knows he's seen it 1,000 times on film. He knows that it's a pitch that can get the hitter out. So he's not just calling things to see what happens. He's calling it with the intent of getting the guy out with that pitch. And he's awesome. He's obviously, deserves all the success he's had. And it's really fun to see someone, of his stature and just really dominating the level. It's been fun.
Well, last thing here, you're trying to dominate this level, move on, get to the major leagues, and obviously you're going to be ecstatic to get there anyway, but for you, looking ahead, going through what you've been through and the perseverance and the adversity, how much more would it mean and how special will it feel when you eventually do make it to your major league debut?
Yeah, it'll be really special. I don't necessarily think too much about, all the things I've been through health-wise. I think ultimately, big picture, I've still, been lucky enough to get drafted and make it this far, and things happen to every baseball player along the way, and I think coming into the org, my goal was to be a big leaguer, and whatever happened along the way obviously wasn't what I had dreamed up, but still making it would still just kind of be like a nice tie a bow on it, and then you can really just get rolling and try to make it lasting up there, which I think is the struggle for everyone, is just to get there and then stay up there.
Well, it's been super fun to watch here in AA, and we hope to see it in AAA and the big leagues very soon. So, Brendan, really appreciate your time and best of luck going forward.
Thank you.